100 years ago, a young woman from Cincinnati set out to explore the region's natural environment. 50 years later, she'd be recognized as one of the most influential botanists and ecologists in the country. Struggling against the odds, she worked to preserve the natural heritage and ecological integrity of the primeval forests of eastern North America. Challenged, she didn't give up. With her sister Annette as colleague and companion, Lucy Brown devoted her life to science and the preservation effort. Though hidden in the shadows of history, she was a force for nature whose impact remains.
Lucy Brown is a world-famous plant ecologist, and she actually came from the Cincinnati area, studied here, and then traveled all through eastern North America way back when, early in the 1900s, studying plant communities. She not only knew about botany, she knew about geology. She and her sister traveled up and down mountains, up and down all sorts of natural areas, describing what they saw in detail, in good scientific detail.
Any major paper about the eastern deciduous forest starts with the citation, Brown. 65,000 miles of effort, travel, and study in the Appalachians.
She was extremely intelligent. She didn't have to stop and think. The names and the places just rolled off of her tongue.
Little old lady in tennis shoes, she was not. She was a scientist, and she was an incredible individual, but no nonsense.
She kind of commanded. She was a commander. She reminds me of what Patton would have sounded like. But instead of tanks, she was controlling us, the botanists, wannabes.
Lucy Brown is the premier ecologist in the region. She's someone who highlighted the biodiversity that occurred in the forest of Kentucky and Ohio. And she's someone who worked really hard to create conservation in the area.
She was a force to be reckoned with in the world of science. And she was not intimidated by the male culture which dominated the time that the two sisters were doing their work.
And she truly was a pioneer, and she became recognized nationally as one of the foremost ecologists and botanists in the United States.
The woodlands around Cincinnati are a fertile environment for diverse plants, rocks, animals, and insects. Even more so at the turn of the 20th century, when Lucy was a child. It was the perfect setting for curiosity and wonder in nature to grow.
I was born in Cincinnati in 1889 and received all my education in the Cincinnati schools. My father was a principal here, and both he and my mother were always interested in nature.
George Frederick Brown was born in Cincinnati to German immigrants and became a medical doctor and public school principal. When he married Emma Wright, an elementary school teacher, she quit teaching to raise a family. The couple's first daughter, Annette Francis, was born on August 28, 1884. Emma Lucy followed 5 years later, on April 19, 1889. The influence of two disciplined educator parents had a profound impact on Lucy.
That German heritage and Victorian heritage came through her whole demeanor then. She lived with her parents, especially her mother, after her father passed away, until she was over 40 years old, she and her sister, Annette.
Lucy and Annette were raised according to their parents' strict conservative values. One anecdote illustrates the point. Past the age of 30 and already a respected entomologist, Annette received a professional visit from a noted microlepidopterist. George Brown told him, "You can have 1 hour with my daughter." Then he sat on a chair outside the parlor during the entire visit. The family lived in Mother Brown's childhood home in Walnut Hills, an early hilltop suburb of Cincinnati. Emma Wright Brown brought her experience as a teacher and her own love of nature to the family's home life. Under her direction, the family kept a small herbarium, a collection of dried, pressed plants. Mother Brown's interests in botany were part of a long tradition of women in the natural sciences.
Some of the first books and lectures about botany in the United States were actually written by women. And botany was associated with women because women had this connection with gardening, with agriculture, with food, with medicinal herbs, and with the aesthetics of flowers. But as botany became professionalized, along with all the other sciences in the late 1800s, then women were left out of the academic or professional associations of botany.